Hi, we just finished meeting for intonation practice on Wednesday, June 1st. I do know it's June 1st. I just kind of forgot it was Wednesday. Um, okay, starting with when will you get off work? When will you get off work? It's a WH question who, what, why, when, where, how. So you start high and go low, but it's always okay to go higher on the important word, even if it's at the end. And I always think of the example where did I leave my keys? Where did I leave my keys? In this case, when will you get off work? When will you get off? So the only thing changing is the T changing to a D, and that connects get off. When will you get off work? This one had a lot of good connections. There's an invisible Y there because, yeah, I'm on the right one. We are trained. This T changes to a D. We already have a D here, and that will connect. And the two changes to ta. So now it'll sound like trained. Be good at. The D connects to the A and at, so it sounds like dat, and you don't have to release the T. So that little mark means hold your tongue there. Don't say atta. Reading. Reading. Now, this one, when you have a word that ends with ing, you don't have to say the ing with the tongue coming high in the back to make ing. So instead of reading and writing, you can say reading, and the tongue goes in the front. Reading. And that's why I put it like dean. And then the N will connect to the A in and, reading and, but you don't have to say the D in and, you never do. Reading and writing. I'm keeping the ing on writing because it's at the end of the sentence and there's nothing to connect to. So, with this long sentence, we are we are trained we are trained to be good at reading and writing. We are trained to be good at reading and writing. So, trained, good, and reading should be higher and longer. And all of the other ones that aren't so important are ones we push together and we make sound changes. So, that's where you should hear the real pattern of English with the stretching and the shortening. We are trained to be good at reading and writing. Only thing that is different in this, there's no connections possible, but a sound change taxed. It looks like ED, but it sounds like a T. So everything will be taxed. Taxed. Ev- Everything will be taxed. And somebody had written, you are awesome, period. However, if I were to say the whole word you and are and awesome, it would be very dramatic and with extra emphasis. Like, you are awesome. You are awesome. So when you see somebody text and or on Twitter and they have this extra little point period after each word, that's what they're doing. They're making it very exaggerated. You are awesome. However, most of the time I'm going to make a contraction and say your instead of you are, and then making your a shorter version would be your, because it's going to go by quickly and get to the awesome. You're awesome. You're awesome. You're ah. So I could put an R here because you are connecting the R. You're awesome. Hey, you're awesome. You're awesome. I asked him. The I asked. There's an invisible Y. So we put it here. I asked him. Technically, asked ends with a T. So you can connect the T to him, get rid of the H. It's called H deletion. So it would really sound like I asked him. However, your voicing starts to come on for the vowel for im. So the T could start to sound like a D. I asked him. I asked him. So if you think you hear a D, you're right. If you think you hear a T, you're right. So don't worry about it has to be a really good T. I asked him, and it doesn't have to be a perfect D. I asked him. You can just keep your tongue in that position, which is the same position for T and D, and then let the voicing do what it wants to do. I asked him, but you don't have to say the H. I asked him. Just get rid of the airflow. I asked him. If it were plural, I asked them. Same thing. You can get rid of the th and connect the d. So now you have dem. I asked them. It can sound like dumb because it's not stressed. I asked them. It can sound like dem because of them. I asked them. I asked them. For me, with my accent, I say them like him. So it'll sound exactly the same. I asked him. So I could be confusing. um, I asked him. I asked them. Very similar. I'm always happy to be here. I'm always. The M will connect to the A, so it'll sound like malways. Happy da. The two changes to a duh. Happy to be here. I'm always happy to be here. That was just a headline. Wicked cool events happening this weekend. So I was just giving an example of wicked. What did you ask him? Perfectly. What did you ask him? I even had the j in there. So the D and the Y make a J. You can keep the U or you can change the U to y because that makes it more casual. And then there's an invisible W between you ask if you use the oo sound. And this one doesn't have a invisible W. What did you ask him? And now you have another H deletion because the K can connect to him and you get rid of the H. So what did you? And this was here to remind Claudia that I know you're looking at a J and you might want to say you, but in this case, I am really spelling it like Jew to make the J sound. What did you ask? Now the W will connect to the A and ask. Ask him. And so this looks like was, but think of it as was. What did you ask him? What did you ask him? What did you ask him? And this one, using the J instead of the oo, now you don't have a W connection. So what'd ya? What'd you ask him? What'd you ask him? What'd you ask him? Calm or calm, it doesn't matter. When you say the word CALM, it's KALM sounding, you can use a dark L, calm, which means a regular L, the tongue is up in the front, called a clear L or a light L, and the dark L, which sounds like the evil L. The middle of the tongue rises calm, calm, and it doesn't have to totally even touch. You can just raise the middle of your tongue to make kind of an L sound, and then close your lips before your tongue touches the top. Calm, calm, or completely touch calm, but not two syllables, column. Or you can just skip the L and say calm. And that's what I put here. It's really hard to tell the difference. Nobody will notice. But make sure you're using the vowel ah and not because it will sound like come down instead of calm down. So since it's the most important word, that's what you're going to notice most because the vowel will be stretched out. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. I'll do it once with the L and one without the L. See if you hear a big difference. One with the L, let's calm down. Without the L, let's calm down. I agree with this. I, invisible. Why? Because when you say I, your tongue goes very high and then agree is low. So you just let it slide. And why happens? I agree with this. I agree with this. With this. With is voiceless th and this is voiced. But you don't have to worry about making a perfect this. Your voice is off for with, so just keep it off. Your voice will start turning on for the I, so just let it do its thing with this, with this. That's it. And if you just want to say in general, I disagree with it. I disagree with it. That's it. I disagree with it. If you are countering what somebody else just said, if you said, I agree with this, and I wanted to make it clear that I don't, then I would emphasize the dis to make that point more clear. Oh, you agree? Well, I disagree. I disagree with it. So this is what you would use most, the first one, if you were the first person speaking. I disagree with it. Maybe if you wanted to really make it clear that you are countering and contradicting what somebody else said that they agree, you would want to emphasize the dis. I disagree with it. That's it. Thank you, and I hope this was helpful. And if you couldn't join us tonight, I hope you can join us another Wednesday. Thanks. Have a good evening.